Well, welcome to. Today we're going to be looking at hanging baskets in particular, and I'm coming to you from Claytonmoor. My business is based at Claytonmoor, and I'm in one of my oldest polytunnels. This one's about 20 years old. So we've been sort of working at growing plants and doing this kind of thing for many, many years now. My background's in teaching, so that's kind of where I've come from, really. I just want to show you before we start some of the hanging baskets. These are ordered for people who customers that we make hanging baskets for. And today I'm just going to show you a range of hanging baskets and some of the methods that we use to create the hanging baskets. Okay, so what we're going to start with is the most simple hanging basket, really. This is actually a hanging tub, and you'll see that it's made of plastic. Now, I don't tend to buy a lot of plastic, and most of the plastic that I do buy is recycled or recyclable. However, these are fabulous little plastic pots. They have a reservoir in the bottom, which really does help when you're watering, and it really preserves the water and makes sure that the plants are always kept nice and moist. So that's a really good thing to remember when you are actually making your hanging basket up. That you need that reservoir of water, especially when it's really hot. It hasn't been really hot yet this year, but when it does get hot, they dry out so quickly, and the reservoir really helps. So what we're going to do is just pop in some multi-purpose compost into the pot. And then I'm just going to ask my daughter, who's filming for me, to just nip to the other polytunnel while I hold the camera, because I've just forgotten to bring my slow release fertilizer. And the slow release fertilizer is Osmocote, and it's a 6-month slow release fertilizer which I use, and it's really, really good because as the temperatures rise, the feed is released into the plants, and it keeps them well fed right through the summer months. So without that, you'll find that the compost actually begins to reduce in its effectiveness, really, and plants don't thrive quite so well after sort of six weeks or so. So the slow release fertilizer is this stuff here. You can buy this in hardware stores. You only need a little bit in each basket. What we do is just massage it in. And you can also use things like swell gel if you want to make sure that the basket doesn't dry out. Swell gel is also very good, and that helps to retain the moisture in the basket. Now you'll see that I haven't actually put the handles on yet, and that's because it's easier to handle without the handles. Okay, now this first one that we're going to put in is going to be some of the sort of annual flowers that you might put in a hanging basket. And I've got quite a few here to show you. Now, when you're choosing your basket plants, try and choose the ones that have the open flowers. This one here is San Vitalia, and this is a Mexican, actually native of South America, Mexico, and it's absolutely a magnet for bees, hoverflies, butterflies, all kinds of pollinating insects love San Vitalia, and it is really, really, really a pretty attractive flower for hanging baskets. And I'm just going to make a little hole there and making sure that I go between the pieces where the handle's going to be. I'm just going to pop that first one in there. I'm going to put 2, I think, in this, 2 or 3 maybe, in this planter. So this is going to really contrast well with the dark green. The bright yellow is so attractive. and it makes a kind of matting effect. Now it is annual, so it doesn't respond well to frost. It really doesn't like the frost. So be very aware of that, and only put this out sort of this week onwards, really, when we're kind of pretty sure there's not going to be any more frost. End of May, beginning of June is the ideal time, really, for Sambitania. You'll find that if it does get frosted, it'll just really all go black. And that's it. You know, you can't do anything with it. It will die. So be very careful with Sambitania. And into that, I'm also going to add a foliage plant. And now this is Nepeta. And Nepeta is a lovely, fragrant, attractive smelling plant, which will attract the pollinators with its smell as well as with its flower. I think I've got one that's just beginning to flower here, and I'll just show you this one. You can see it's just beginning to produce that lovely purpley blue flower, which is like an orchid flower. It opens out and bees and butterflies can access the pollen in there. That's Nepeta. I'll just show you that. That's variegated Nepeta. Okay, grown for its foliage, but its flower is beautiful too. And I'm just going to pop that one. I think I'll pop that one in the middle, because actually what will happen is it will grow upwards and outwards and go over the sides. And you can see it's got little branches coming always there. And that will really sort of cascade out over the sides of your basket. So in this small pot, we've got 4 basket plants, Samvitalia and Nepeta. And then once you've got that sorted, just snap on the handles and then water that well. And what I tend to use is tomato feed, so Tumorite, something like that, is really good to promote flowering. Also, in the earlier stages, if I was making these baskets up sort of April into May, I tend to use quite a lot of seaweed fertilizer, because I feel that really helps to green up the plants, helps them to really start the green growth. And then come this time of year, we swap over and give them Tumorite or tomato feed to really start producing the flower. So that has more potash. Okay. So that's the first one. That one is Samvitalia and Nepeta. So the next one I want to show you is one that's already been made up. Okay, so again, the same plastic basket. This has been reused and reused several years now. And into that, about 6 weeks ago, I've popped in 4 strawberry plants, and they were very small when I put them in. Again, been feeding this with seaweed fertilizer, and now that the flowers have started to form and the fruit is starting to form, then I'm swapping over to Tumorite to help promote more flowering. And you can see nice open flowers. These are really attracting the pollinators, and we need them, of course, to produce the fruit, particularly bees. And you can see there's obviously been some bees about, because we've got some nice bulging fruit there starting to form. Okay, so they have to be watered regularly, but the reservoir really helps to keep those hydrated. At the background here, you'll see that we also got tomato hanging baskets, and these are just absolutely fabulous in these plastic tubs. One tomato plant is all that's necessary in each planter. And these are Tumbling Toms and Tumbler tomatoes, which are little red tomatoes and they will fill the tub completely and flower profusely, providing you feed them with some tomato feed. And they will start producing the fruit usually at the end of July, and they'll go on all the way through August and into September, as long as you keep feeding and keep watering. So they're a really nice hanging basket to have. And again, they attract lots of pollinators, and they need the pollinators in order to produce the fruit. Research is showing that if bees, bumblebees in particular, pollinate the fruit, you get a lot more. You get a lot more fruit on your tomatoes, because the vibration of the bumblebees actually pollinating the flowers helps to better pollination from the bees. So it's really advantageous to have the bees in your polytunnel or outside when you've got your tomato hanging baskets hanging up, because they will really help with the pollination. Okay, so the next one I want to show you is what I sort of reckon is a fairly old-fashioned type of hanging basket. Now, I don't tend to use these very much, but one or two customers do still like them. And they're quite expensive actually, and can again be reused year after year. And they have little windows, and the little windows open up, and you can push them back in once you get your plant in place. So the first thing you need to do with this one is fill it with compost. Okay. And again, I'm just going to pop in some slow release fertilizer, the awesome coat in the bottom there, to keep them going through the summer period. And then what you need to do is choose the flowers that you want in your basket. Now we've got petunias here, and the petunias are a lovely blue, a really attractive colour. And this blue really sings out in the evenings. And moths in particular, which we all know are really good pollinators, moths love this colour and they love petunias. So if you do want to attract the evening pollinators like moths, then saphinas or trailing petunias are a really good option to put in your hanging basket. And the blue in particular is particularly attractive to those moths. That one's actually called Petunia Saphina Heavenly Blue. The one that I'm putting in next, we call this Goldilocks, that's the common name, and it's a lovely foliage plant, which really breaks up the basket and makes it look attractive. Often called creeping Jenny. Okay, we're just going to pop that one in. You can see how I'm just pressing that in so that it's just jammed in. And I'll just work my way around the basket, taking off the little handles, the windows, and pushing the plants in. And the whole root ball will go in, lay it down, and then we can put the window back on. That's the Sun Vitalia we talked about earlier. North American one. And that's the label there, Sun Vitalia. And then we'll put another petunia in. This petunia, this time we'll go for this one, which is a purple petunia. Again, very attractive to those evening pollinators, the moths, and butterflies. Let's pop that in. And a couple more. This time we'll put in a Nepeta. That smells absolutely gorgeous, the Nepeta. Just push that through. Put the window back on. And then the last one, another foliage plant, Creeping Jenny or Goldilocks. Okay, so you can see we're starting to build up the flowers and foliage plants all the way around the outside. And then what we need to do is just top up with some more compost. And a little bit of the slow release fertilizer in the top there. And then in the top, we can add things like the petunias. I'll just ask my daughter to hand me a couple of petunias over. That's it. Thank you. And different colours this time, which again are going to attract those evening pollinators. So we've got a purple, pinky one, and the cream one. In the middle there. And we'll just add another of the trailing down the side. Hanging baskets. Don't think you've got to add all sort of flowers. The foliage plants really do make a lovely job. And just get this one from the ground here. Another Nepeta. It's really important to put a nice variety of foliage as well as the bedding and the basket plants. What I'll do is I'll just move that tuner over. I'm just going to put a lovely geranium there in the middle, because that will give it a nice height. It's a lovely pink one, the zonal geranium. Again, those are attractive to moths and to butterflies and to bees. Easily accessible into the centre there of the flower. Okay. So once that's watered in and it settles in, you get a nice show of colour all the way around there. There's lots of pink and blue, gold, and all the foliage plants as well. And they will just gently cascade down, and the ones at the bottom, of course, will all join together. And by midsummer, there'll be a mass of colour and an absolute hive of activity for pollinating insects. That one on the floor as well. It's got a flat bottom, so it's easy to stand up. I'll just have a bit of a tidy up here. I just want to show you now a traditional way to make a hanging basket. And this really is quite environmental friendly. It's also very environmentally friendly for lots of other insects, as well as the pollinators that we've been talking about. Because this one involves using the moss that you might scarify from your lawn in the springtime. So when we're encouraging the grass to regrow, we often have to rake or scarify the moss out of the roots of the grass to get it really sort of aerated again. And so this moss then can be used to line your basket. And it also provides a little habitat for lots of other insects that might like to live in the moss. Because it's a really good little environment for lots of other insects. So what I've got then is a bag somewhere. Here it is. And this moss has just been gathered from the lawn and from pathways around the garden. Bits of twigs and all sorts in there. And you'll find that it's quite bitty. It's not in a big lump. So you will need to sort of join it together and be quite creative in how you put it into your basket. Okay. Bits of leaf and all sorts in there. But make sure it comes well up over the sides. Okay. Some of our pathways are really, really mossy over winter, with it being so wet for such a long time in sort of January and February. And then, of course, it went really dry, didn't it? So I've got sticks and all sorts in here. So this moss, if you do take it off your lawn or off your pathways, you can store it in a plastic bag like this and just seal your bag up, and it will keep really quite fresh until you want to use it. So, you may not want to use it in February, March time, but you need to keep it for now. But it will keep in a bag. And it's surprising how fresh it does keep. And I think sometimes it multiplies, actually. It grows in there. Okay, so that's a nice sort of bird's nest of moss there. And then into the bottom of that, I'm just going to put a piece. Now, this is a piece of compost bag. So I'm really kind of reusing something that would normally have been recycled or thrown away. Okay. And when you're lining your basket, remember you don't want to see that part of the bag from the outside. You want to see the black. So you're lining it like this so that the black is out facing. Okay. And I'm just going to use my hand to push down and right down to the bottom there. I'm just pushing out. If there's any extra, it's too big, and just fold it this way or cut it off. Okay, because you don't want to see any of that white from the outside. I find this is quite a good use of bags, compost bags or whatever, and it means there's less waste. And actually, people who bring their baskets back to us have got the same bag the next year. The bag, of course, stays absolutely fine for the next year. That's what plastic does, doesn't it? It stays for hundreds of years. So it's good to be able to use it. Okay, so once we've got that kind of neat, well, then we add the compost. Okay, and the compost will push it back as well. Now there is, you saw that I split it down the middle, so there is a little bit of drainage in the bottom there. So don't be thinking, oh, it's going to fill up with water. It won't. The water will seep out from that little cut that we put in to make it fit. Okay, remember you need your slow release fertilizer in there. So just filling that up nicely. It's surprising how much compost you need. This is a 14-inch basket. And these baskets are really quite good quality. They're black plastic, but they last year after year after year. Unfortunately, some of the chains get a little bit rusty before the actual basket takes any harm at all. So although you are, buying plastic, it's something that can be reused and reused. It is possible to buy chains on the internet if you want to replace your chain. If you've got an old basket that is fine apart from the chain, you can buy them separately. So bear that in mind. So you can see a nice kind of traditional mossed basket there, and reusing lots of materials you might already have lying about. Okay, so just want to show you this one. It's got a weed in it. I should take that weed out. Show what the weed is. I don't want it in our hand basket. So this one is Diassica, and you can see lovely open flowers. Diassica is very, very popular with bees and butterflies. Honeybees particularly like Diassica. Okay, gently ease it out. There we go, it's got a good root system. So in a basket this size, usually we put in about 7 or 8 basket plants. Now the one that I really want to focus on for this basket and show you is one called Bacopa. And you can see in the background here, we've got 1 or 2 Bacopa plants. Now this is a giant Bacopa, and I'll just find you the traditional Bacopa that originally okay, so you can see that this is the old Bacopa snowflake that's been around maybe 10 or 15 years now. Beautiful, very, very popular with hoverflies, bees. Bees absolutely love Bacopa snowflake, and the RHS recommend it as one of the best annuals for baskets. That's lovely. I mean, it's already well grown in the pot there, good root system, and that is really quite a good weatherproof basket plant, Bacopa snowflake. You'll find that some winters it can survive. It's pretty tough, although it is classed as an annual. It is pretty tough. And then its new and improved cousin, again, really popular with bees, again, beautiful, huge flowers, a much sort of fatter flower. Looks like it's been eating all its dinners up, doesn't it, compared with the Bacopa snowflake. But it's really beautiful, and I'm going to put them both in. I do love white, and I think white is lovely in the evening. If you've got white in your basket, it really stands out and attracts those pollinators. And we're also going to put in the blue Bacopa. And we all know that that colour is really attractive to bees. These are smaller flowers, smaller plants rather, been potted on a little bit less, fewer weeks. But once they get into this big basket with that slow release fertilizer, they'll quickly cascade over the sides. And then we've also got Gulliver Pink, pink bacopa. Okay, and the three together do look beautiful, I think. Again, really popular with all those insects. Another white one. Just going to put that by the pink. And you see, with this basket, I'm not putting any in the sides at all. We're just relying on the fact that they're going to cascade over and really kind of soften the sides and make a really nice job. Okay. I'll put in, let me think. Oh, yes. Verbena. Now, verbena, as we all know, really popular bee flower. And there are hundreds of different varieties of verbena. This is a bedding verbena. It's quite scented. And scent's so important to insects, isn't it? Probably more important than it is to us. And then we've got Diassica, little dancer again, just to fill in the gap. So this is a lovely pink and white and blue basket. Lots of tiny flowers there. Really efficient use of insects' time because they've got lots and lots of pollen and nectar to collect all at once, all together, without having to go anywhere else. So I think this is going to be quite a nice, attractive basket for lots of pollinating insects throughout the summer. That will need fed, of course. I know it's got slow release fertilizer in it, but it will need to be fed once a week with something like tomato feed, just to keep it nice and fresh. And if the weather's colder, it's more important than ever to feed, actually, because the slow release fertilizer will only activate in warmer conditions. So remember that. Feed right through the summer and keep feeding in the autumn, because often we get a nice warm autumn and the basket will carry on. And I've seen baskets carrying on to the end of November, you know, if we get a nice mild autumn. Okay, so just wanted to show you an alternative to the moss. If you think, well, I haven't got a lawn, I haven't got any way of getting any moss, this is something you can buy, and it's from a sustainable source. It's coir. I've actually slit it so that it fits snugly into this 14-inch basket. No mess, no fuss. Makes a nice, tidy job. That will probably be fine again next year, so you get probably 2 years out of it before it starts to break up. And it's a, you know, it's ideal. You don't need to put plastic in, you don't need to put the moss in. It'll do the job of both things, really. So I'm just going to fill with compost. And again, a little bit of slow release fertilizer. And in this one, I'm going to put some perennial plants. Now, perennials in hanging baskets are a little bit alternative, I suppose. But some people, you know, don't want to be messing about and changing their hanging basket sort of year after year, season after season rather. They want it to last sort of year after year. And so we've got some plants here that will actually do the job and will stay looking good, even in the winter. And this is ajuga or bugle, and its natural sort of trailing habit is ideal for this kind of job. Produces a purple flower, which is really good. and it will be flowering quite soon. Okay, we've got thyme, and this is russetings, producing, as you can see, it's starting to produce flowers already. Lovely pink flowers. And it's a really good ground cover and trailing thyme. That inside there. And then in the middle, I'm going to pop in this beautiful orange scented thyme. I've already seen lots of bees on this morning. That's going to go in the middle. And of course, you can also snip that if you want some thyme in the kitchen. Oh, it smells absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so we've got russetings thyme, we've got bugle or ajuga, we've got orange scented thyme, prostrate rosemary. This is a fabulous one for window baskets, tubs, and for hanging baskets. It doesn't look very big at the moment, but that will grow really quite quickly in the next few weeks, and it will really create sort of a mat that goes over the side of the basket. And again, you can use that in the kitchen, so that's going to be really useful. So we'll make ourselves quite a useful hanging basket here that can be used not only by the pollinators, but also by ourselves. Okay. Let me see. Garlic chives. Garlic chives, unlike the common chives that you may have, produce a white flower. And they'll be lovely. Just they don't tend to grow huge, so they're quite a good choice for hanging baskets, and they're very attractive. The smell is very attractive, of course, as well. And we've got the golden queen thyme, which adds a little bit of foliage colour. And shortly that one will be flowering, usually flowers in June. And this is one of the lemony flavoured ones, which will look very attractive and smell beautiful. Maybe around this side we'll add another bugle. Okay. Now, if you're to put this into the ground, this would root itself here and really kind of spread quite quickly. This will stand a bit of shade, so this hanging basket doesn't have to be in full sun. The bugle will stand a bit of shade, as will the rosemary, and the thyme will put up with it. And then the last one I want to pop in is chamomile. And chamomile will just fit in here and produce a really nice matting effect. Okay. So you've got a really nice effect there of perennial plants, mostly herbs, which are going to flower throughout the year. And you probably can keep those in sort of over to next year. You may need to trim them, of course, but you probably want to trim them because they're all tasty herbs, apart from the bugle. But they are scented as well. And again, that's going to attract pollinators in the evenings to your garden. Okay, so that's a nice perennial basket. Okay, so we've just got one basket to go, and this is a little bit different. So this is sort of bird cage really that I picked up at I think it was a junk shop or a antique sale or something down in Norwich when I was down there several years ago now. And I just thought it'd be quite nice to show you that, you know, you don't have to use the traditional hanging basket. You could use a shopping basket, you know, a nice basket that you've got with a handle that would hook up somewhere, or you could add some chain to it or some string and just hang that in a tree, or, you know, it doesn't have to be your standard plastic or standard shop bought basket. Be creative, and I think being creative is quite nice. It's quite quirky, isn't it? So this one is a little sort of bird cage idea. And I'm just going to put the moss in the bottom here. And that is because I'm going to use a piece of plastic to line it, and I don't want you to see the plastic. So I'm just covering the bottom in some of that moss. And if you don't have moss, you could use a plate or a dish, you know, a dish that you eat your dinner from, something like that, with something with edges that you could just pop in and then plant into that. That would be fine as well. Okay, and I'm just going to pop in this piece of plastic again. We don't want to see the writing, so the writing's going on the inside, and the black is going to be the visible bit, or hopefully it isn't going to be visible. I'm just going to press it right in so you can't actually see it. And then we're going to put the compost in there. Okay. I'm just going to put 1 or 2 holes in that plastic, just so that it will drain. I don't want any of these plants to be sitting in water. I want them to be well hydrated. Okay, so hopefully you can't see any of that black in the sides. And then we're just going to add enough compost to plant the plants into. A little bit of grass in there, take that out. Now bear in mind that as this moss dries out, it will shrink a little bit. So you want the moss to be well above the level of the plastic. Okay, and we want a little handful of fertilizer. Now then, what to put in this one? Wow. What do we have? I think it might be quite nice to have a chive in there. I'm always amazed how popular chives are with pollinating insects. They absolutely love chives. So I'm going to put the chive in there. And I'm going to go for a mix of flowers and herbs, I think. So we're going to put another pink bacopa in there. Going for the smaller plants because obviously they're going to have to fit through the gaps. So we'll just position it there and then very carefully see if we can just ease them through the bars. Okay. Now ideally you would plant this up before the plants were too big. They are managing to fit through. And you can see that once they get established and start sort of hanging over the sides, they'll look lovely. And they'll be accessible to the pollinating insects. Okay, so got a bit of pink there. Now, one that I was going to use, but it's actually a bit too big for this planter, is Vinca or periwinkle. The blue periwinkle is really, really good. The white's okay, not quite as good as the blue. I haven't got any blue periwinkle at the moment, but this makes quite a nice perennial basket plant. So bear that in mind if you're looking for basket plants that are going to be perennial. What I want to show you is this one, which is an Indian trailing mint. And this produces a little white flower. I'm afraid I haven't got any labels to show you, but it really cascades very long and it's very, very fragrant. And the white flowers are quite attractive to all kinds of insects. I'm just going to pop that one in that corner. It's quite a big root ball, so I'll need to make quite a bit of space in there. Okay. And that one will just push through. You see, it's just coming through there. There we go. That smells absolutely lovely. Okay, so that's Indian trailing mint. We've got chives. We've got the pink bacopa. I think we'll put a white bacopa in there as well. And this one is Nemesia. Now a Nemesia produce a lovely open flower, which is quite scented and again, very attractive to insects. Now you'll notice that I haven't used any begonias. Begonias really don't have any beneficial, any benefit for insects as far as I can see. I've never actually seen a pollinating insect visit a begonia. I may be wrong. If you have, please let me know. But begonias to me don't have a lot of benefit to pollinating insects. I'll just get a white bacopa. And this one really will be ready to trail through in this corner. Well, I'm quite excited to get this little hanging basket up in. I think I might just put it in polytunnel for now, and then we might put it into the porch, because the actual basket has never been outside, so I'm not sure how it will stand the weather. But I'm quite happy to put it into the porch, and I think it'll probably like it in there better. The door's often open, so the insects can access that no problem. Right, so just to recap then, we've got bacopa snowflake, white bacopa snowflake, pink bacopa snowflake. We've got some pink chives. We've got some Nemesia, Indian trailing mint, and I'm just going to pop the top on there and see how that looks. Okay, I think that's going to be quite pretty once that starts to really trail. and I think it's going to be quite attractive to bees and butterflies, and I think they'll be able to get in and out no problem. I don't think there'll be any issue with getting stuff. Okay, so that's the fifth one that we've managed to make up. I think it's probably about 2 o'clock now, is it? If anybody's got any questions about any of the plants or basket types, then just let me know and I'll try and answer them. Over to Lucy.
Thank you, Helen. That was fantastic. I love the bird basket. That's brilliant. We've got a few questions. Sweet Pea Fragrance asks, what varieties are the tomatoes and strawberries?
Okay, well, any variety of strawberry is okay to use. Those are all Santa, which is just a very boring, ordinary variety. And Cambridge Favourite. Cambridge Favourite. Again, a really old-fashioned, traditional variety. I try and use 2 different varieties in the baskets so that you get a progression of fruiting. So some are maybe slightly earlier than others. But all, more or less all varieties of strawberry will be fine. And what tends to happen after they've flowered and fruited is that you get runners coming off. And when the runners come off, just take the runners off, put them into new baskets, and you've got your baskets made for next year. So the only thing you've got to watch is birds. Birds do love them.
Thank you. And how do you spell the first species you named, the South American yellow flower?
Sanvitalia. Right. Sanvitalia.
Testing your spelling there.
Yes. Sanvitalia.
Thank you, Helen. And Viv asks, how often should you water your hanging baskets?
Well, I water these every evening. The thing is, when they're outside and you think it's raining, you think, oh, well, they're getting watered. But actually, they may be under an overhang or they may be blown by the wind and drying out. So I would say, if you can, water them every evening. If you're going away for a weekend, take them down, put them on a bucket and really soak them. Don't leave them up and hope for the best, because you might come back and they'll actually be dried out. And it's a shame, isn't it? Because you put so much time and effort into them. And if it's very windy weather, take it down. Just put it in a corner of the garden and let it have a rest for 24 hours. But they don't really like wind, hanging baskets.
Okay, and Isabel asks, more information, if possible, on the water reservoir, please. And no reservoir. Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for a basket, look out for one that has that. Not all of these plastic containers you buy have these reservoirs in the bottom, but some do. So they are really worth investing in, because they do save a lot of time and effort, and they do help them to stay looking good. I mean, the tomato baskets in particular, they do need that reservoir just to keep them. On a hot day, they can dry out in 24 hours. So really, invest in one with a reservoir on the bottom. And if you're making your own basket and you're lining it with plastic, and put holes halfway up so that you're making yourself a reservoir in the bottom. So don't put holes necessarily right in the bottom, put holes halfway up so that you preserve a little bit of water in the bottom always.
Thanks, Helen. And the best tomato varieties for baskets?
Yeah, Tumbling Tom is a really good one, and Tumbler. They're the 2 that I use. You can get an orange and a yellow variety of Tumbling Tom, I think, but these are all red ones. These are actually ordered for, I think I've only got a couple spare. They're actually ordered for a customer. He gets them every year.
A couple more. Have you used Biden's? Do you know that?
Yeah, Biden's is lovely. This is Biden's here. It's a really good one. Can you see? It's a really nice big open flower. Absolutely beautiful. I haven't got a label to show you on that one. I don't know if I can take it down. I can't get it down. But yeah, that basket's been made up for several weeks. I actually haven't got any more Bidens at the moment. I didn't order enough this year of the plugs, but those Bidens are lovely. Yeah, they're a really good bee plant. Yeah, that's Nemesia there. That's a nice one as well, Nemesia.
Yeah, they look pretty. And Viv asks, what compost do you recommend for baskets?
Yeah, you need a multi-purpose compost that's not going to dry out too quickly. So you want something with a bit of body to it. I've seen in shops and things, Miracle Grow do one that's water retentive. I haven't used it, but it sounds like a good idea. But any multi-purpose compost is good, really. But remember to feed. Remember to just add a handful of some kind of slow release fertilizer. Then the basket isn't relying on you for feed every week. You know, it's got some backup.
Thanks, Helen. I think that's the last of the questions, unless anyone's got any more. Doesn't seem like it. No, just lots of thank yous and people saying they really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Well, those basket plants are available from me if anybody wants any. As you can see, I've got quite a few. And I can post them out in my club packaging if people don't live nearby. I can do that. If you email me, I can sort that out.
People can Google you, can't they? Helen's Herb.
Facebook, Facebook as well, at Helen's Herbs.
Oh, great. Thank you, Helen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll say bye. All right, bye, everyone.